Okay, so as we're finishing up section 1-2 from our notes from class, we have our parallel box plots that we're trying to do here. And so we're going to go through here. I'm going to start plotting the 5-number summary for the males here. So I started estimating, okay, where's about 27? Right about there. Next one I have Q1 is somewhere around 64 and a half, which is, let's just call it something like about that. Again, with going by 20s for the scale, it kind of makes it hard to tell, but my median is about 109, so I can put this one a little bit further out. Q3 is 167, so somewhere about here. And so what I'm going to do real quickly, I'm going to go ahead and draw a box to connect Q3 to Q1, because that's what's supposed to occur between Q1 and Q3. So 50% of the data is inside that. Remember the quartiles, there's 4 quarters. So each quartile is 25% of the data. And so again, as I have this here, I have Q1, my median, my Q3. And then all I gotta need to do is do my max. My max is 290, which puts me way out here. I got another big tail there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw a line out to there. So we have our graph done. To me, I'm thinking, could it possibly be that 290, that max, is a outlier? We'd have to check it with the IQR rule to see if that's the case. Let's go ahead and do the same thing with females. We're going to graph those in pink. The females minimum was about 22, so just a little bit closer to that 20 line. And then we went to 83. So right about there. Then to 129, which puts me maybe about there. And then 180, so a nice little marker. Go ahead and draw the box. And then there's my, and for the females, go ahead and draw on that whisker. And then the 218, so we don't go that far there. Okay. So there's what we have, and now we get to make some comments and about what we see in the picture. So what do we notice? To me, it looks like the males. Because of maybe that 290 is probably going to be an outlier. It is making the males shape-wise to be skewed right with that long tail. Also, what we can also see as follows is, if we go to the opposite side, I'm going to change colors here. We notice that over here there actually is a greater frequency when it's shorter on the box and whisker. The tighter it is on one side and smaller, I guess you want to call it, in dimensions, that means there's a lot more frequency of data in that part of the graph. And then as the longer sections means there's not as much data in that parts of the graphs, therefore it lengthens out more, which causes our skewness. So that's where I'm going from, the skewed right is what we're doing here. We have a lot here on the left-hand side. There's more data in here, and not as much data over on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go and write that in there, less data. And so therefore, and it's spread apart, there's more variability in that part, which causing us to have that kind of skewed right. Females is almost kind of the opposite. Females, we can say it's slightly skewed left. So we can say for the females, we can say slightly skewed left. And again, we'd have to test to see is for the females, is the 23 or the 22 an outlier? And again, that would involve us doing the IQR rule. We can make some other comments about it. We can say who has a greater median. As greater median. Well, in that case, we would say it'd have to be the females. Who has more variability? therefore with greater range. And with that in mind, we can use either the range or the several things we can use. We can use standard deviation, the SX. The males have a bigger standard deviation. If we look up here, there's a greater range or variance with the standard deviation for the males compared to the females. We could also look at the IQR if we wanted to for both of those. And say, okay, if I do 180 minus 97, the females was 97 was what their IQR is. And for the males, it looks like their IQR for the males, real quickly off the top of my head, is 103. So there's another one kind of saying that with the males have a greater variability. They have a greater IQR as well. So those are some things we can look at on the graph and from as we look at the parallel dot plots. Now, next one I have here is this one on the calculator. How do we do a histogram on a calculator? We did one earlier by hand, and so I took some time already and typed the information into the graphing calculator online. So if you just follow with me, and you can pause me and type this stuff, I'm going to walk you through where did I do it. And so as I bring up the online calculator, what you do is when you get into the calculator, you're going to press Stat. You're going to hit Enter on Edit is what you're going to end up doing. Sorry for the pop-ups at the bottom. So that's the challenge with online things. Sorry, I'm trying to. It's not. There we go. I'm going to press Enter on Edit, and then I went ahead and typed in all the data into L1. Is what I did. It took a little while to get it all in there. Remember, make sure you're careful when you're putting the stuff in there. And then we're going to hit Graph. Actually, you can hit Graph. I'm going to just go ahead and quit out of there so I can quit. And then I had to turn on the stat plot to do histograms. So we go into second y equals, go into plot 1 and hit Enter. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. So I'm going to press Enter on. Arrow down to go, and then arrow to the right till I get to the histograms. Press Enter. And now we can go ahead and hit Graph. And it's going to try to graph it. And some of it will be in our screen, some of it won't. So I'm going to hit Graph, and we see it in the screen. But what I'm going to go through here is this is just the default by what the calculator chose to do the histogram by. You can alter it to be any way you want it to be. Like for example, when we did the thing in our notes earlier, we said we want bin width of 5. So if you said, you know what, I just wanted, I don't want as many things that are going on there. I want bin widths of 5. So let's go. What we do is we press Window, and then we start changing the mins and the maxes. So what's the smallest X value we want to see displayed? Well, technically 0. What's the biggest X value? I think there's nothing bigger than 30, so I'm going to use 30. And the scale is where we say how wide of bins do we want to go by. And let's go ahead and use the 5. Let's do them that way. They do it like 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so forth like we did on the graph. For the Y minimum, I'm just going to go ahead and just put -1, just do a little bit below the Y axis. Our Y max, let's go ahead and do like 25 or 30 because we just don't know how many are going to fall into those bins now. So I'm going to hit 30. And we can go by 2s if we want to, but I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like that and go by 1s. And then now I'm going to hit Graph. Notice it changed how many did I see. And if you don't see your graph ever on your calculator, because sometimes the numbers are outside the default, you can always do Zoom 9, and that's Zoom Stat. And that shows your the whole thing. And now here's our histogram. We can trace it. Remember, we need to draw a histogram. So we can go over here, and I can draw my histogram. So as I sketch it real quickly, and we said we went by 5s is what we did here. And I'm going to come back and label things in a minute with what we're talking about for labeling the axis, and then going vertical. Since I don't have a lot of space, I'm just going to go by 5s as well, just to make it easier. 5, 10, 15, 20 is what I'm going to do in 25 and 30, just to make sure, because again, I haven't looked at to see how much is in each part. And now we're going to go through and we can hit trace, and when we hit trace, it actually puts my little cursor on the top of one of the rectangles, and it actually tells me what the minimum value is in that little cell. But it tells us that basically, like, this cell is from 0 to 4.9 is what it's telling us in there. And the n equals 20 tells us how many items are actually in that bin. There's 20 of them. So we can go over here and draw our first part, and we know that there's 20 of them, and they're based on that. If I hit the right arrow key, it tells me this is from basically 5 to just below 10 because of the max biggest value that they had in there, or I guess this one's showing as that. So I guess by me zooming kind of changed that. Let me go. Yeah, it changed. I bet you it did. Let me go back here. Window, min. Let's go back and tweak that to be. I shouldn't have zoomed. Is what I shouldn't have done. So we're gonna go minimum 0, 30. Go by 5. -1, and we said go by 30 again, hit graph. Now I'm not going to touch it. Let's say trace. All right, we still had our 20, but now we see this a little bit better. We see that it says from 0 to 5, and then it's going to be from basically 5 to 10. There's 13 in this cell, so come over here. There's 13 in here, and then I can arrow to the right, and then there's 9 in the next one. All right. This is just a nice little way to be able to draw how tall you need it to be for each of them as we go. Then we go down to boom, 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 2 in the next one, and it looks like the next one is just a 1. And I'm just going to hit up to the right. Is there any more? And there's none because it says end of 0. Hit again one more time. Nope. All right. So there we go. Again, we would put some type of label on here of what this was. I can't remember what the topic was. So we can go ahead and move the calculator out of there, give us a bigger screen. And topic-wise, sorry, whenever I zoom in and out, it kind of gets things all crazied up. And this was for what percent of your home state residents were born outside. Okay, so born outside of U.S. Born outside, percent born outside U.S. Okay. And then we can make some determinations about this. We can say that it is skewed right is what we can do. Now we already put this stuff in the list, and so if we wanted to say where is the center, where is the center, like what's the median of this, what we could do to find exactly, and if we wanted the IQR, the min, Q1, median, Q3, and then the max, since I already have something here, let me go ahead and bring that calculator screen back up. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to press stat, go arrow 1 to the right to calculate, and we're going to go into something that's called one var statistics. And I'm going to go ahead and press, I got to zoom in so I can press enter on it. And it's going to have, okay, what list do you want to do it on? I have the stuff in L1, so I press enter, go down to calculate, and now this is where I can pull off my information. The X bar is my mean, so the X bar that we see there, that is our mean. We're going to talk about that in the next video. 8.3. The next one we can use, my S sub X is 6.08, and then 3.8. We usually go 4 decimals in stats for the AP test. I'm going to talk about the fat RX there in the next lesson here. That's a different type of deviation. I'll tell you the difference. They're close in values, and there's a reason why there's a difference. And then we notice there's the min and the Q1 and the median, so I can quickly say, okay, the minimum value was 1.2, Q1 was 3.8, median was 6.1, Q3 was 12.4, and the maximum value was 27.2. And then, then I can go through and makes determine other stuff if I want to. But that's just a quick way to kind of look at, hey, how do I get that 5-number summary real fast? And again, it's going back in there doing a 1 var stat. Again, once you press stat, 1 to the right to the calculate is the very first option. We use a bunch of these on this screen throughout the first part of the course. The next column, test, that's pretty much everything after spring break. We get the use of pretty much all of those after spring break, and I'll talk about the difference of those when we get to those at that point of the course there. But we use quite a bit of these things here. Again, if you have any questions, there's one more example here. If you want to do it, you can do it. Smaller amount of data is there. If you wanted to do a box plot, we can go ahead and do that. We can do that one live. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and I'm going to go second y equals and turn off that dot plot. That way it's not going to graph it. And I'm going to exit out of there, second quit. And then I'm going to enter those numbers into L2 is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do stat, hit enter on edit, go to column L2, and I'm going to type in those numbers. And just trying to make sure that I can see all of them that I'm doing here. Trying to do it as quick as I can. I didn't preload this one. At least this was a smaller amount of data. All right, perfect. There we go. Got all those ones in there. So once I do that, then I'm going to go back up and do second y equals, and I'm going to go down to stat plot 2 and turn it on. And I'm going to go down to stat plot 2, press enter. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. And then I'm going to go down to what type of graph do I want. I'm going to do the one right after the histogram graph. I'm going to press enter. And where did I put my data? Well, I don't have my data in L1. I actually have it in L2. So I'm going to press the blue button second and then the number 2, and that puts the L2 there. Remember, second 2. If you put your data in L3, then you could go through and do second 3 and then put that L3 there. That's all those little, from the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there's a different column for each one. Now that I have that, now I can go ahead and hit graph. And I don't see it that well, so I'm going to do that zoom stat thing, zoom 9. You can also do zoom fit, which is zoom 0. That is another one, but I'm going to do zoom fit, didn't get it all in there, so zoom 9, zoom stat. Now I can see it. Oh, there we go. We can see look how big of that tail is to the right hand side, and that's possibly showing us that maybe that could be an outlier out there. That's 60. But we would go through here and roughly sketch. Get a short tail. And again, we can get numbers here to be more precise. But that gives us there. If I hit trace, it puts me where the median is, and I start going left and right, and I can figure out where the min is. Q1, median, Q3, all the way over there to the max. Okay, so that's just a quick way that we can go down to here once we put a scale. However we decided to go by, whatever is going to be here, then we can go ahead and get it on there. Okay.